Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Town Board meeting for October 11th, 2022. Hard to believe. Already October. Here we are.
Yeah.
If everyone could please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we can just bow our heads in prayer as we give thanks for living in a country that allows us to gather together. Tonight we want to keep in our thoughts and prayers Bob Cole, a longtime resident of Yorktown, a 9/11 survivor who passed away just last week from a 9/11 related illness.
U.S. Army veteran. Also.
And a U.S. Army veteran. Thank you. Bob was a great member of our community. We keep his wife, Donna, in our thoughts and prayers, as well as his kids and his grandkids. We also want to keep in our thoughts and prayers, as always, all of our first responders, our police, our fire, our EMS, and, as always, the bravest men and women the world has ever known, those serving overseas, protecting our freedoms today, serving in the United States military. Thank you.
Amen.
We'll do introductions, starting to my right.
Good evening, Diana Quast, Town Clerk.
Good evening. Tom Diana, Deputy Supervisor, Councilman.
Matt Slater, Town Supervisor.
Councilman Ed Lachterman.
Sergio Esposito, Councilman.
Councilwoman Luciana Howitt.
Highway Superintendent Dave Paganelli.
And via Zoom,
Town Attorney Adam Rodriguez.
sounding great. We are going to, we did have a couple announcements. Just bear with us shortly. As a reminder for our neighbors on the north side of town off of Strawberry Road, the water cement relining project is underway. I want to thank the town board. I know Councilman Lachterman went out dropping notices off to those homes that are going to be affected, again, over off of Strawberry Road. Also, I know our highway superintendent Paganelli is here. The planned culvert replacement project off of Route 118, which was supposed to start this week, has been postponed to begin October 17th, so next week. And also, as a reminder, we will have a special town board meeting this Thursday, October 13th, 10:13. This will be a special meeting for our police department and a recognition of some of the awards that are going to be handed out by Chief Noble, recognizing not only our officers but members of our community. Also, we'll be swearing in several new officers who were either promoted or are new officers, new additions to the police department. So that, again, will be this Thursday at 6:30. Originally, it was planned for Granite Knolls, but it will be here at Town Hall because of what we believe is pending inclement weather. And I know, Councilman Diana, you've been a big proponent of the blue light.
Yeah, that's something I think if you can get a blue light. I got an email the other day that people can't find them. They are tough to find. But if you can find a blue light, if you put it in your outside fixture and just turn it on for 10:13 or leave it on all year long, that's a wonderful support for our fine men and women in the police department.
Excellent. Thank you.
I got mine on Amazon.
You got it on Amazon?
Amazon got a ton of them, yeah, because I was looking them up for other people too.
I have lights that I have an app. It's like a smart light, and you can change
The color.
to blue, orange, red, or whatever. So I do too.
Oh, okay. Great. Thanks, Adam.
And then the last announcement that I wanted to share, we received a notice from NYSEG that there is an expected electricity production increase coming for the winter. More than 40% is expected for NYSEG customers. This is in addition to your delivery rate, separate and aside. We saw this this past winter that occurred, especially with our Con Ed customers. They saw that production costs spike. And NYSEG is warning that over 40% production increase is expected for the winter. So please make note of that, make necessary preparations for that. We are still awaiting the PSC to rule on their pending rate case which is a proposed 31% increase for NYSEG customers. The town board has opposed that increase. I testified at the PSC's hearing last week, and so we are doing our best to advocate on behalf of the town of Yorktown's NYSEG consumers for the town to not only to reject a 31% rate increase that is a deliverable rate increase, but just know the production increase is separate and aside. With that, we're gonna jumble around our agenda slightly. I have to excuse myself momentarily. Councilman Diana is going to take over, and we're going to start with the Jefferson Valley Wireless Facility.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you, Deputy Supervisor and members of the board. Robert Gaudioso with the law firm of Snyder and Snyder on behalf of Homeland Towers. If you recall, back in July, we had appeared before you. We had noted that both the Planning Board and the Conservation Board had issued recommendations. They had accepted the revised plans, including the tree mitigation and the wetland mitigation plans that we had prepared. This board had declared your intent to be lead agency under SECRA, and I think at this time what the next step would obviously be is there needs to be a public hearing. We're not in the wetland, but we are in the wetland buffer. And this board has jurisdiction over that permit as well. So we'd respectfully ask if you don't have any additional questions at this time to set that public hearing for some date in the future. And also then we could proceed with the lease because that's all a prerequisite to ultimately the alienation process with the state legislature. Thank you.
Does the alienation process, I think that would have to go first and then the wetlands buffer segment. Otherwise, we have to segment everything. So to keep things streamlined, maybe we should have all our ducks in a row and just have it as far as the alienation from the state, which doesn't go into session until January, and then do our wetlands in conjunction with and already have the things referred out to all the appropriate agencies.
I think we need the lease before we could do the alienation process. So I think that was the prerequisite to the alienation process with the state legislature.
Question for Adam.
Yeah, Adam, do you have any information on that?
Adam, do we need the lease?
Ordinarily, yeah. I mean, the way we would do it, I think, is we would agree upon the terms of the lease, and it would be subject to alienation authorization by the state legislature, and then we could pursue it. And then once alienation is granted, you know, this effect. You can write the lease any way you want, right? But like the way we did it over at Granite Knolls, we entered into the lease. It was subject to all necessary approvals, alienation, planning board, site plan approval, etc. And then when those things sort of got checked off, the lease finally became, you know, effective. And that's sort of, I think that's the way they're proposing to do it, and that makes sense to me.
Okay. All right.
So are we having a public hearing on everything, the wetlands, the alienation, and the lease agreement?
You don't need a public hearing on the lease agreement or alienation, but we can, if the public hearing is going to be in, you know, the next few weeks, we can wait until the public hearing is closed and then pursue alienation. I mean, alienation is not going to happen until June anyway at this point, but we need to request a bill number, right? We have to get that process started. We have to do that. Then we have to get, you know, the legislation has to be drafted. It's a process. So
you can begin the process by doing the lease first, and then we can do the public hearing later on?
well, I think
I think we'd be comfortable doing it. So if you had the public hearing, obviously you only need it for the wetlands. But then once that's done, then a secret determination could be made, and the approvals, if possible, could be granted for the lease, the wetlands, and recommendation for the alienation, the home rule request, and then at least then that way, you know, because we do have the carriers that we have to keep involved in this project and keep their funding involved, so they need to know we have a lease to keep.
So if we wanted to set, Adam, if we wanted to set a public hearing today, what are we looking at as far as a date? Diana,
I would say it's probably going to go into November, and we're probably looking at November 1st or November 15th.
Either one of those dates would be fine, whatever works for the board.
We can't do much until the first one, the session's in anyway, so it's not. You know, your lease agreement, obviously, you can work out with the town attorney, correct, Adam?
yeah.
Okay. So We get the lease agreement going, and then we'll set a public hearing for. You want to set it for the 1st?
It's fine.
Okay.
That works.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're
No
welcome.
problem.
Have a nice evening. Thank you.
Number 1. Okay. Next up, we're going to do ARPA. Comptroller Pat Caparel. He had stuff on that one? Okay.
Why don't we go with the EV?
All right, then we'll go down one. We'll do, we either do, is Dan here? We could do, Dan isn't here, but we do have. Yep, let's do that. EV charging grant at the library. We have our library personnel. We'll get you out of the way.
You're just gonna pull me up there one way or the other.
Yeah, she was coming up. So you had to go through all that first, you see.
Exactly. I just wanted to make it interesting.
Okay.
So, library got approval for a grant for EV car charging stations at their location.
Yvonne, you want to step up? Thank you.
So we were just in the preliminary stages. We just got the approval. That's it. Now we have to go through the application, go through the state. So this is going to be a long process. I just don't want you to think that we got the money today, because we don't.
Okay.
Either way, it's great news.
Exactly. So now, I know Yvonne started getting some quotes regarding the electrical work that would need to be accomplished at that location. So again, we're just in the preliminary stages of this.
And it's a $60,000 grant, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That's the maximum, right? So we would have to make sure that all the costs involved with the entire project come in within that amount of money.
And the
This is reimbursable too. So
Wonderful.
yeah. So
Okay.
this do we have an idea of what one of these units cost? One of these stations cost?
We do.
And are they one-sided, two-sided? Yvonne, take it away.
We do have the cost for, right now, for proposal to install 4 dual port level 2 chargers. And for 4 of them, it's $46,000 and change. That includes digging and installing the wiring and all of that. We did have someone come on site to determine the best location, because the cost is entirely related to the proximity of the parking space to the electrical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were.
That's the money, is the conduit to get to the
Yeah,
electric.
so they were able to determine that we have easily 6 or 7 parking spaces that are within close enough proximity to the main electrical panel, so that we can keep that cost down. And there's also the concept of investigating solar charging stations as well. So that's where we're at so far in our investigation, and we'd love to have the charging stations located at the library parking lot.
Yeah, we were tossing around possibly trying to squeeze in one more, but I think we're going to need that extra buffer between the 46 and the 60 for the investigation, for, the conduit. There's always these other issues that come up, and that was kind of our general
The installation
consensus.
is generally what gets you when you
Nothing is what it says it is on paper,
Exactly
especially
right.
when you're
And
digging into
this
the
is also going to be subject to procurement, so with this dollar amount, we're probably going to have to go out to bid on that too.
Right.
So,
And just out of curiosity, have you seen what side of the library that you're thinking of? Is
Yeah,
it closest
so
to
if
like
you're standing, if you're on East Main Street, looking at the front of the library, it would be to the left past the children's wing.
No.
And there are, you'd see some dumpsters there, and then there's usually the library town car is parked there. That bank of parking spaces, I believe there are 7 there. That's the closest to our electrical box inside the building.
And I think there's also grass there, right, for trenching?
There's also grass.
Right, so it trenches easier. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Just curious.
So that's the spot that has been located as the most ideal spot, and fingers crossed, we'll have some EV charging stations maybe in the near future.
Yeah,
So,
we
spring or summer.
That'll be great. That's really a goal for us, is to put as many EV chargers around town as you can, because you're going to need them.
You're going to absolutely need them, and it couldn't be more ideal because people typically spend some time at the library.
Right.
So they would park, maybe go in for a story time, let their car charge, come out an hour later. I think it
Or
would be
give 'em
perfect.
on.
You're on your way.
Now, the devil's in the details usually. Now, these are going to be, let's say, credit card swipe machines or something of that nature where they're paid for by the user, not by the town.
Exactly. Right.
And I'm not sure how they do, whether it's coin or dollar bills or whatever the case may be.
We
I
had it-
think it's all going to be.
It's all going to be app-based.
It's all going to be app.
And we had Flo do a presentation originally where it was all app-based. On all those, we're going to have to go back out to bid on this, obviously. So it may be Flo, it may be a different company.
Yeah.
But I think the important thing is being on the same page as to where we want the EV car chargers to go. It's a great opportunity for us. And so now we can move forward with the grant and then move forward with a bid so that we can get these in place. I do want to recognize that we do have members of the CSC with us today. I don't know if they wanted to add anything to the conversation regarding the location of the library. I know Swarnoff was supposed to be on Zoom. I just tried getting him on, but he fell off.
Oh, I'm in.
Oh, there he
Hey,
is.
guys.
Hey, Swarnoff.
Hey, Matt. How you guys doing?
We're
Good,
good.
how are
We're
you?
good.
Accommodating.
So, Swarnoff, we're talking about the EV car chargers. We got a grant courtesy of Senator Harcum for $60,000, and we just need before we can formally apply for the grant and finish the paperwork, we just need to provide a location, and I think the location that we think is best suited is a library.
Got it.
So,
Yeah, whenever the floor opens up, I'll bring up my questions.
okay. Sarah and Paul, did you want to take the...
I have a question. Does the grant specify that they have to be at the library, or did
No,
you
it-
decide that's the best place?
It has to be at a municipal location.
Okay, we've had some discussion about this, and there are other locations in town which would be appropriate for charging stations. Right here at Town Hall, for example,
We've had that discussion as
or
well.
at the CCC,
YCCC.
however many C's
Yeah.
in the name. at
The
the
AA,
community center.
CCC, YMCA. Yeah, I'm joking.
Sixth grade school.
At the community center where people spend a lot of time, or maybe even the courthouse. So the library is a good place because everyone in Yorktown goes there at one time or another. And what this will do is it will help people to learn not to be afraid of electric vehicles and electrical vehicles charging stations. It will provide an iconic representation of charging EVs, whether they're used 24 hours or not. So the library is a good place, but if we have 4 that we're going to do, I would suggest 2 at the library and 2 maybe at another destination location.
The thought process behind that, Paul, is we've got 2 separate providers. So here it's NYSEG, there it's Con Ed. Secondly, we already had Flo do estimates for both, or actually all the locations that you discussed. The police have raised concerns about putting it at the courthouse, and they prefer it not to be there for security reasons.
Okay.
So, whether it's here, and I think eventually there's no doubt that it warrants to be here, it warrants to be in a number of places. But I think knowing what we know about the Con Ed make ready for the EV car chargers, I think they're going to be easier to work with initially than NYSEG. And when we say there's 4, it's really 2 dual chargers. So it's 4 spots, but it's really 2 machines on both sides, correct? And so for those reasons, and I know the library is being very supportive of and I know that Yvonne's vision includes EV car chargers at the library.
Okay. Actually, the library attracts people from Yorktown and from neighboring towns who are part of the library consortium. However, if you're talking about destinations in Yorktown, we have 2 new commercial establishments, Uncle Giuseppe's and Trader Joe's, which draw people from a much longer distance away and would probably help to draw more people to Yorktown. If you live 20 miles from Yorktown and your EV car can only go 20 miles,
Yeah.
then it's nice to have a charging station available.
Right.
But those are commercial establishments.
Yeah, unfortunately, they're not municipally owned, so that it proves to be problematic for the application. It has to be municipally owned land. So obviously, again, the here outside at the commuter lot, I agree with you 100%. Some of our parks, I think, would be great places for them as well. But for this being the first opportunity, I think that the library, proves to be the most advantageous because it checks a lot of boxes.
Yeah, sure.
And again, talking with Yvonne and understanding the flow and how long people stay at the library, it's going to be a good opportunity for people to go. About 45 minutes to an hour usually in the library, and while they're there for the 45 minutes to an hour, they're going to be able to be charging their cars. So I think it just provides a lot of advantages for that particular site.
Okay.
Swarnoff, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, so I had two quick clarifying questions before I provide any comment. Have we already decided on the kind of chargers we're looking at for the library at this point?
No,
within that budget?
No, we haven't. We just need to figure out the location first so that we can apply for the grant. So we know that the senators allocated the dollars, but in order for us to do the necessary paperwork to get approved by the state, we have to provide a location. So this conversation is simply about the location, not the type of charger, whether it's what level charger, if it's a Tesla charger. We're not there at that point of specificity. This is simply discussing and having a community conversation about what municipal property it should be put on.
Okay. If that's the core focus of the conversation, naturally, obviously, as Paul brought up, commuter lot and such makes sense, but because we already have data pointing towards the library from a location kind of front, that makes a lot of sense. The only thing that might be useful actually exploring is in the interest of maximizing the usage of whatever the grant dollars are that have been allocated towards us, identifying what kind of chargers we can actually afford under that, and then working backwards from there as to which locations could support that the best, because if certain areas have a higher rate of flow, then you're going to need faster chargers. But it seems like we already have context from the previous exploration that we had done with EV charging stations. So if location specific we're trying to keep this conversation focused on, the library probably makes the most sense, given the data we have. But other than that, in terms of working backwards, that might be another way to analyze this and see which locations might surface itself as well. But the only reason I bring that up, even though it is best to start from a location for us first approach, is purely because we have limited dollars and we want to make sure that we're maximizing that grant so that we're getting as many stations into the town so that more of our residents end up swapping over to EVs, hopefully in the coming years when they do go to the market to purchase. But if the focus on this conversation is purely location, my gut also tells me library probably makes the most sense for us.
I got to tell you, I spent several hours in the library parking lot this morning, and I couldn't believe how fast it had actually got filled up. So I was there till about 11 o'clock this morning, and by that time, looking at the library, the left side parking lot was fairly full by that time. I don't know what the other side looked like. I didn't see. But so I think they would definitely get some usage there, probably a lot of usage.
Right.
It would also serve as a great case study almost, because at the end of the day, when we make decisions like this as a town, the hope is that businesses also start to follow suit and include charging stations on their property and such. So I believe the library would serve as a great case study for EV charging stations, and then hopefully local businesses can take inspiration from that and, where applicable, actually start to follow suit. So
right.
I see no issues in necessarily site selection. I believe the only place where we may need to do more due diligence, which naturally will occur in the process, is trying to figure out how to maximize the number of charging stations that we can get installed for the dollars that we have been allocated by Senator Hartman.
It's a good point, without a doubt. But also to the point, though, what I agree with is that if we are encouraging other businesses and other property owners to install EV car chargers, I always like to lead by example.
Exactly.
And so,
I was just gonna say the same thing. You're like,
right. So like we're trying to encourage developers who are coming in to include EV car chargers and EV make ready as part of their proposal. We should, as a town, be trying to do the same. And so this is just a great opportunity for us to lead in that way. And Keith, you wanted to add something?
I just had 2 quick questions. Does the grant say it says it has to be on municipal property?
Has to be on municipal property.
For public benefit? Because the question is, are we thinking of going to any EV cars for the municipality? So maybe
it has to be. It doesn't specify about public benefit, but it has to be on municipally owned land.
Are we thinking of going to EV for any of the municipal cars, municipal vehicles?
I would love to. I think there's definitely would be good examples of departments that would benefit from it. And we've looked at this. I know that we've looked at this a number of months back, years at this point. The biggest problem that we have is most of our fleet is required for snow removal.
Right.
And when you talk to the car dealers, and we've done some homework on this, they don't have an engine yet that's strong enough to carry the load to push the snow. So that's the biggest impediment right now on electrifying the entire town's fleet. But when you look at some of the folks on staff and how they use their vehicles, there's definitely room for EVs to be introduced, and that's a conversation that obviously needs to be further discussed and planned out. But and we talked about this, Sarah, right? We've talked about one of the first things we talked about with CSC was with the vehicles themselves and trying to get away from gas. But the problem again, and Dave can speak to this directly, is when you're requiring all of the trucks to be able to plow, you need to make sure they can get through the snow. And right now,
just wondering about regular,
yep.
Regular
no, I actually like this point. I mean, we're seeing all the cases now in Florida with the water damage and the cars reacting poorly. I think we're all moving to learn more about how to preserve the world and the earth, and obviously EV cars are. But there are some things that I think they haven't made them yet that make them efficient. And as much as I want to say I'm all for the movement, but I also want to be realistic as well. I mean, the last thing I needed was one of our police cars on a criminal chase, and it's past 20 miles, and he's got to stop to charge, or me stuck in a snowstorm and Dave can't get the snow out of my street. So I think that I think it's a good learning tool.
Torque in those
but there are guys that are just driving around from one building to another building, not even leaving 5 miles.
They would be perfect.
I see that. So I want you to we could do it on a scale, and there's probably more of those guys than the bigger trucks, right? There's more of those cars that are really not. They're staying within the town.
Well, look, I think this board is committed to moving EV chargers and facilitating the infrastructure. There's still a lot that needs to happen and needs to evolve, and that'll happen over time as well. But I think we're taking the right path, and the library is a perfect place to start. I think it's a great location, and it checks boxes, right? Like the supervisor said.
Yvonne, you've brought that place to life. Thank you. It's wonderful. It's only getting better.
So I think that we have consensus from the board that the library is the. Anything else y'all want to add from the CSC? We've got Kathy Ritchie here from the library board. Anything you want to add?
Well, of course, as Swornoff said, CSC is totally supportive of having chargers in as many places as we can. There are level 2 chargers, there are high-speed chargers,
right.
And different locations lend themselves to different types of chargers. This is a modest start in terms of putting in 2 chargers at the library. That's great, but we're going to have a lot of options ahead of us, and hopefully a lot of grant money available to help us.
And we do have the municipal lots to do it.
Yeah,
without a
doubt.
doubt.
Absolutely do.
And a commuter parking lot, as Swornoff said, is a perfect place where a car is going to be sitting there for 8 or 10 hours. Right. You can get a full charge there.
I think we learned a lot when we did the tour down at Bird Bus. That Croton, I believe, has the first, or
electric school bus.
One of the first electric school buses in the area, and it has about 100-mile radius, but it only goes out for 3 hours in the morning, and then it parks for 3 hours, and then it goes out for another 3 hours in the afternoon, or some such time frame. So that's where they find that it could be useful. So I guess it's on a trial period to see how it's going to work out and if they're going to replace more of the fleet. And they also informed us that now they can put actually redo the old buses to become EV buses. So they can be
Absolutely.
converted with the electric motors and batteries, et cetera.
Absolutely. There are so many options. It's not a one-size-fits-all.
Yeah.
It's going to vary by district. It's going to vary by town. It's going to vary by property and everything. But we're really supportive of this first step. And if there's anything that the CSC can do in terms of legwork to help as you're, getting these various proposals in, that's what we're here to do. So thanks.
Appreciate that.
Rock.
Thank you.
So why don't we make a motion to authorize the grant application for the EV car chargers at the John C. Hart Memorial Library and authorize that application to be signed as is needed.
So moved.
A second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Great. All right. So
Don't go far, Pat.
don't go far.
Pat, stay right
Come on,
there.
you can run away.
All right,
Pat, we're keeping you here.
Oh, she's not going to go too far, trust me. So we're gonna go on to our first agenda item. Pat, back at the wheel, please. We're going to talk ARPA. As we had said previously, that we took a pause on our ARPA deliberations. You okay?
Yeah.
It's just seltzer going everywhere.
You had that
Kind
face.
of it's like my emotions coming out
This
of
is
the
the same,
bottle.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sarah's laughing at me.
Yep, I got it.
One of my therapy things.
Thank you.
Thank you. Your nails match your outfit.
Thank you for noticing.
I noticed.
So we took a pause on our deliberations on this until we got a better handle on the garbage contract situation, which we'll be discussing later today as well. But I think everyone involved feels that we're in a good enough position to re-engage in the conversation regarding the ARPA spending. And it's also, there's some timeliness to this as well in some aspects. I do want to thank everyone who participated in the community survey. We got some really, really good ideas. We got some great insight into what people were thinking about. And some of the suggestions were, I think, really fantastic. Some, frankly, we just won't be able to do, such as creating a Metro North train station. We wouldn't be able to do that.
We could use the old putt-putt line.
We could. I'm sure John Tegeter would really appreciate the old putt coming back. But again, I think that we got a really good sense from the submissions what people were looking for, and so the committee went back and took what we got here with what we knew were some of the priorities for the town, and we're trying to essentially marry the two together so that we can meet the community's desires, but also address what we feel as the town government, what our needs and focus is. So Pat, is there anything you want to add to that effect?
No, just very surprising how both of them really seem to mesh, what our needs were compared to what the residents wanted.
Right.
So this is basically comprised from the poll that we took. So this is how we, the committee, are thinking that we should move forward. So now the next step in this process would be for the town board's input
Right.
into what we came up with.
And so Pat's distributed a potential spending plan. Dave, did you get a copy?
Yes.
Great. So Pat's distributed a potential spending plan. The areas one area that we saw the greatest desire was community infrastructure, paving of roads, road infrastructure, all things that makes Dave very excited. And so other things that we saw was enhancing community programming and public safety. So Pat, do you want to
Go through the whole thing?
walk us through?
All right, so starting off with the infrastructure, a lot of the residents were commenting on the downtown area.
Right.
Okay, walkability. So that is where you have the Veterans Road, the Downing Drive. That's what that is for.
It's a proposed funding of a streetscape project that we hope would run from 118 in Downing all the way up across Commerce down to Veterans Road, something that the planning departments had on their 5-year capital plan for more than 5 years, John? More than 5 years. That would also allow for things like potentially bike lanes, complete streets in this main corridor of town, again, connecting and connecting parts of the downtown, connecting potentially the North County Trailway with the Mohansick Trailway, which would, of course, help encourage use of our parks, but also continue the revitalization of the Heights Hamlet, which we've seen with the Uncle Giuseppe's and everything else going on.
Mm-hmm.
We're seeing more action in that parking lot than that we have in decades. So,
Unbelievable.
Really, really promising things. So that's one of the thoughts behind this streetscape proposal.
And then on to the roads, and that is the drainage. And I can have Dave speak to that, on how important the drainage is for our roadways. So took that into consideration, so that's that allocation. Then we have the library, and we have Yvonne still here. And the residents, as well as her wish list, is for study pods in the library. Okay, so tried to incorporate that. As I promised you guys, I think there's something for everybody in here.
If I could just quickly, Yvonne and I spoke about, and I even brought it with me, the future of Yorktown's community library. She's going to do a presentation on this. But the library is just doing so well, but she gets calls weekly, dozens and dozens of calls for private study rooms, which the library currently does not have. And so there's a clear need, and the vision for the library includes these. So it's going to enhance a terrific service here in the town of Yorktown, and it's right in line with the vision that Yvonne and the library board has for the future of John C. Hart. So I think the library pods makes a lot of sense.
I spent some time with Yvonne, and we had gone over the plans and so forth on how it was going to be laid out with the study pods and stuff like that. And it was very interesting, and it looked like something that the library really needs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And now we go on to a need for the Parks and Rec, and they need lights at Downing Field. Okay? Jimmy
Another...
He's giving me a thumbs up there.
Yeah, I mean, the reality at Downing is another capital improvement project that's been on the capital improvement schedule, Jim, for more than 5 years. We're at the point now, Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, but those lights are so obsolete that they don't even manufacture them anymore. And so when we have to replace them, it's going to get to the point we do have an inventory of them. But once we're out of that inventory, we literally won't be able to replace the lights at the field.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems to make a lot of sense. It's going to obviously bring that facility further into the 21st century. And as we've seen at Granite Knolls, having the Parks Department using 21st century technology to control the lights, from a billing standpoint, from a usage standpoint, it's only net positive for the town and for our recreational department. So and again, on the 5-year capital plan for probably more than 5 years at this point.
Nice that we can start moving some of those projects forward.
Trying.
And now we have, the dynamic duo here. I have Highway and the Water Department who are begging, pleading for Vactor, which absolutely necessary in both departments. So that has been included in here.
If we could just...
Again, also, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the Water Department's Vactor is past its useful life. Dave, how's your Vactor?
I don't have a Vactor.
Exactly. And so one of the things that and honestly, I really do want to thank Dave, because Dave, I've pushed Dave pretty hard on trying to find an alternative solution. He's looked at the Water Department's Vactor. He's tried to drive the Sewer Department's Vactor, which has a small forest growing in it. But unfortunately, neither of them have passed the test. Tommy, I know that you were involved in this too, looking at the equipment. And the importance of the Vactor for the Highway Department really comes down to the catch basins, right, Dave?
Correct. We have 5,800 catch basins.
And how many do you clean annually? 6?
No, are you kidding?
Fraction?
Maybe 400.
Right, a fraction of what we have, and a lot of that is because we don't have
That's
the.
because we're repairing them.
You're repairing them, but we also don't really have the equipment.
No.
That's going to expedite that process.
The Vactor also will tie very nicely into the drainage.
Right.
Because it will eliminate a lot of problems when we're excavating and we're hitting,
Right.
God forbid, gas lines, or we're hitting water lines, or we're hitting sewer lines, which we've hit all of those this
We
year.
had that one off of, there was that one incident this summer off of Curry.
Oh, Wascora.
Wascora, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
That was a gas line.
But if you had the Vactor,
We could have hydro excavated and not had that problem.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
So, and with the deterioration of drainage, average drainage in town is 60 to 70 years old.
Right.
Corrugated metal pipe, life expectancy of 30 to 35 years.
Yep.
I mean, the stuff we're pulling out of the ground looks like Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
So it's just
and we
gonna
get
be
calls
per-
that you
it's
and I
gonna
get
be perennial.
and you and I get calls about drainage daily.
Yep.
Concerns about the failing drainage. We all hear it. So that's why it's important that we're, I think, allocating some of the dollars to addressing those infrastructure needs. And also, that's exactly what the purpose of the dollars are for infrastructure
It's going to
enhancements.
be a long-term benefit.
Yeah.
On multiple levels. So.
And on the water department, Tommy, Councilman Diana, I mean, you know that Vactor is an essential tool for them every single day.
Yep.
They cannot function without one.
No. The hydro excavating that they have to do on a break is just amazing. You get the pipes cleared out so that they can repair them, get them done quickly, and get people with their water back on right away. Plus, it gets you around wires, gas mains, and so on and so forth without putting too much of a bucket in the ground, because that's a major fear. You can't get call before you dig out there at 3 o'clock in the morning, and you got water shooting 3 feet out of the ground. So they have to do what they have to do, get through the frost if there's any, or get through the blacktop with the machine, and then they hydro excavate until call before you dig does come out on an emergency. So it's an absolute necessity, and you can't mix one with the other. You can't use one that's being used for sewers to hydro excavate where there's drinking water.
Right. So both critically important pieces of infrastructure, of equipment that's going to help us maintain our infrastructure. You want to continue, Pat?
Public safety. Have security cameras at the the Albert Capolini.
The AACCC,
Sixth grade school.
YCC.
So it's about time. I know this is another subject that's been mentioned for years. We've had
Years and
surveys
years.
done there, on what the requirements should be for that location. So this would be the opportunity for us to finally move forward with that also.
I also just want to, I'm sorry, Sergio, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, I had a meeting with Sergeant Scatola regarding the cameras there, based on my IT background, and they're definitely necessary. There's other security things that I think we're working on as well for that building, but the cameras is definitely one of the high points that we definitely need.
Right.
And
So
again,
this is
our
this is great.
opportunity.
Right.
And we had originally, in full disclosure, put in a grant for the Department of Homeland Security, which we were hopeful would put us into a recurring funding stream of $50,000 annually for security cameras, but we did not get that grant this time around. So we're left on our own to fix these problems again, and obviously public safety, especially there, because you have a daycare center. You have our seniors. How many complaints have we gotten at the track? All those things.
This is a great start, and when we do get that grant, we'll apply that here. 'Cause
Oh,
this
right.
building needs them as well.
We got to put them up, in municipal buildings at this point. I think we all know that.
Just because we have this doesn't mean we're going
Right.
to stop applying. So
Right.
keep trying with that too. And then the police department, active shooter training. And you can explain this better than I
Sure.
can. It's a virtual.
Yeah, so we originally explored building them a training center here in Yorktown. But for the cost of the training center, Chief Noble recommended, and his command staff recommended, they have virtual reality active shooter training modules. And so that would be much more convenient to train his staff. And much more flexible to train the staff. And so when we were exploring all the options, this particular piece of technology it was what was presented by the police department so that we can better train our staff, unfortunately, in active shooter cases because they've just become so prevalent across the country. So I think that this would, and according to the chief, this would be a very useful piece of technology and a useful piece of equipment for that purpose.
And last but not least, to remedy a temporary fix in Shrub Oak is to put the light on Stony Street. So, because right now they have the stop signs.
Three-way stop. Yep.
So, finally, I know this is another item that's been talked about for quite some time. So it would be nice to move this forward.
And we did get monies from the international school to help with the study and so on and so forth because they added more traffic to Stony Street, and that was part of the whole deal with their buying the place. So it was it's a much needed area in town for a light. And Dave, now we finally
We could take my
we can
blinking
finally take
stop
your
signs
signs back.
Stop signs back.
We'll put them someplace else.
We'll find somewhere.
I know there's a lot more projects, but this is the most. These are what we feel were the most important at this time.
Listen, there are so many projects. You got to
Exactly.
start somewhere. Start knocking them down. That's and this is a perfect start. And I think it's like you guys said, it's based on a list that we polled from the public, and it was in line with what we wanted.
Exactly.
Let's move it forward.
And also, there many of these are either long-standing proposals that we just never been able to fund before.
Right.
And you know, so for that reason alone, I mean, I think a lot of these are warranted. Also, though, because they dovetail with what we're hearing from the community, what the survey results showed. People want complete streets. They
Survey
want,
shows.
Yeah, survey shows. So, you know, from that standpoint, I think it does make a lot of sense. And so we wanted to present it to the board to get feedback from you guys, honest feedback. You know, I can tell you that talking to the water department, and Dave can speak to this on the VAC tour side, you know, we are looking at a bit of a wait. The sooner we can put an order in, the better on those two pieces of equipment. And my biggest concern for the water department, again, if that piece of equipment does go down, we're gonna be in a world of hurt. And that piece of equipment is over 14 years old at this point. It's past, and they run. I think their useful life, according to Jimmy Morgan, was 10.
It was 10. That's out. I forget how many hours every day. I think it's 6 hours, 5 to 6 hours every day. We actually had a little issue with it today, where it went into limp mode for no reason at all.
Right.
So.
This couldn't come at a better time.
Yeah.
So if you'd like me to move ahead.
You guys want? So I just want to have a conversation.
Yep.
I wanted the board to have a conversation, giving us some feedback on what we identified and.
Yeah, these like you said, these are things that have been here. You know, it's about time we get them done.
Yeah.
It's
They're all laudable projects.
Yep.
And equipment purchases. Excuse me. And it's just like the lights on the field. Were they mercury vapor lights, Jim? That you can't get anymore? Is that what they are? Yeah.
everyone's going to LED.
Yep.
Right.
And they're going to.
Stockpiled a couple of them.
He did stockpile a bunch.
Yeah.
But
We've replaced
once
a few
we're
of
out
them,
it's
yeah.
over.
But now at least that's going to save electricity for the town.
Right.
You know, so there's an advantage to having to spend this money also.
And of course,
you're going
we'll
to see a return
procurement.
on that.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
See a
definitely.
return on that because those lights they're probably suck energy like crazy. I mean, you know. So.
The snow melts under them, Sergio.
Yeah.
Pat, from your standpoint on the reporting side, how does this work?
I just need the board's authorization to move forward with the projects, and then it's subject to procurement. And then once we start to purchase, then when I can start transferring the money, because the money is held separately from the town's money right now.
Right.
So now, as the purchases go through, I have to transfer it appropriately.
Does it matter that it's piecemeal? So
No.
say we want to make a move faster on the VAC tours to get that moving. It doesn't make a difference.
No,
And
I
can you
have
move-
to. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Can you move two at the same time?
Yes.
Yeah.
I can
so
move
the
all of
back to
them. I can
item-
move one of them, but you have to
Make it
have it
longer.
spent by 2024, and I have to have everything paid for by 2026. Otherwise, I lose the money.
Right.
So you need the project. The way the
So you
project's
can
run now,
move
you
the
gotta
money
get
as
on it.
needed.
Yeah.
Yes.
You really got to
On
get
an ongoing basis. So
Yes.
I don't have any other questions. Like Deputy Supervisor said, they're all laudable projects. There are so many other laudable projects, but let's start somewhere. this is a great list, and it's a great start.
Yeah. We'll get our department heads
I'm
on
in.
what they have to get on to get these things moving along.
Right, because this is all subject to procurement also.
Sure.
Even though it's, the ARPA money, we still
Right,
have to
we
follow
still have to
procurement.
I
Right.
mean, the good news
Of course.
is on the streetscaping side, we know the town of Greenberg had
Right.
already went out to bid. They already got a great price, and there's a piggyback clause that allows us to
Right.
utilize that pricing. So we've been working with Rich Fahn, who was a member of the committee, to finalize the details there, so we get an idea of exactly how much streetscaping can we do for
that money.
for this
Mhm.
money. So that's so there's still going to be a lot of work done on the staff level. I know that our director of planning is thrilled to hear that, but I think it's all I'm joking, John. I think it's all important just to get a sense from our standpoint where the rest of the board feels these fall.
Yeah, and to your point, this is not what it's going to cost. This is what we have to spend.
Yeah.
I mean, the list composed addresses as you mentioned, like the walkability and the understanding of town. I know I have an office right across the street, and I walk right through Uncle Giuseppe's all the way over to, Downing Park, and then I can go to the track. So I think that's wonderful. It touches on the drainage that meets the road repairs, because I do feel like sometimes people move to one project and they forget about the smaller things that go with it. So at least we're opening the ground and doing it once and doing it right. It invites people to the study pods, which will now have the EV chargers, so they could study and charge their cars. It brings us to the Downing Field lights, because let's face it, our parks are amazing. When my kids play football at Granite Knolls and the lights go on, it's just, I feel like I'm on that show, Friday Night Lights. The Vactors are necessary. Like, we don't have a walking elephant, so we need someone to clean out all those drain pits. You're adjusting the security cameras, which really does provide the safety, and it accommodates those who go there, those who meet there, those who work there, those, who live around there. On top of that, we have the active shooters training, and let's just face it, we don't want to know that, like, this is the world that we live in, but it is the world that we live in, and having that is amazing. And then you go to the Stony Street lights, which we're just updating because for just public safety. I think that you guys did a great job, not only listening to the public, but also spreading it throughout, all of Yorktown in the sense of like what we need. So I feel like it was done.
I think the committee really did their due
Yeah, they
diligence
did a really
in
nice
going
job.
through what the public requirements were, or requests were, I should say, as well as the department's requests.
No, I'm happy to see things getting done. Like, it's really exciting. I do feel that I want to stress that we should move forward as soon as possible, just because projects are delayed, and I know that would happen even when you had the grant money, and then there was a pause, and then the grant money moves around, and there's a lot. So I don't want to expire where she loses time.
I won't let it expire.
All right, you know what I mean. So yeah.
I'm on it.
And we're not sending any of it back.
Yeah.
No.
Just making sure.
Yeah, make sure you lock it up, put it in a fairy box.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So we'll get on it, and then I'll come back to the board, and I'll let you guys know.
It's great.
All of
Thank
you
you,
know
Pat. Very
how
good.
far we're going. Thank you.
Great job.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. We're going to go to 2572 Gregory Street. Dan Ciarcia. Is the property owner here?
No, he wasn't able to make it tonight. He has a shift.
Okay. So talk to us about what's going on here and what's needed.
This was a single-family home
Yep.
Toward the end of Gregory Street, contiguous to the Pine Tree subdivision, the back of Sarah Court.
Yep.
So this went through an extensive review.
Yep.
We did a whole wetlands mitigation, tree mitigation. It was quite involved. So they did get the permit, and subsequent, they've started construction. But the two things that came up during the course of construction, one was NYSEG had a different idea how to serve the property based upon their underground infrastructure. So they want to move the service to a different location on the other side of the street, or I should say the other side of the lot. And then when we reviewed our records, we determined that there was a sewer spur provided for this property in the rear. So the owner wants to use that spur in the rear. So there's some wetlands mitigation going on in the front of the parcel, but it's all like small plants and stuff. So area will get dug up anyway to do the plantings and all that. So what's going to end up happening is NYSEG will run their underground service in, and then everything will go back together and the same wetlands mitigation will take place. There'll just be an electric service there. So I think the request makes sense. The only issue really is that it wasn't an administrative permit. It was before this board, hence we're before you this evening.
Okay. Questions?
I don't have any.
Lou?
Nothing.
All right. So you need a motion from us?
Yeah, I guess we just need a motion amending the approval to allow for the alternate sewer connection and the NYSEG service pursuant to the plan prepared by NYSEG.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Very good.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Okay, we are moving on. I don't know if representative for the boutique hotel is here. No?
I don't see him.
So we do have an application for the overlay district application for the boutique hotel. Since we don't have anybody here to represent them, I think that the board can at least entertain a discussion about how we want to proceed procedurally.
Well, we have a law that it meets into the overlay. We have a law that sort of fits in there. I think we should push it over to planning, and I see you calling Mr. Tegeter up, who could probably make some comments on that.
Yep. And I also just want to confirm with Mr. Rodriguez, Adam, despite the pending lawsuit related to the overlay district, are we able to process the application?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Taggart?
Exactly.
I need to talk like Adam does, just one word answers.
Yeah.
It would just be
A
so much.
a lot of people would learn from him.
I love that. There was
It's
a
not
pause
every
and
day.
he's like,
It's not every day that you get a yes or no out of me. I mean, let's be real. So.
No, it is actually.
No, I love it.
Adam, sometimes it's a little gray.
Most of the time I'm like a maybe.
But the pause was the best. It was like, yes. Pause. Okay.
All right, Mr. Taggart, talk to us. What do you?
Well, I assume this is an application to be processed under the overlay district law.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. So I haven't seen the application yet, so I don't know what supporting information that they have, if any. But they should be giving you some advice as to what they believe that project does in terms of the 8 tenets, so to speak, that you will be looking at. That would be my first thing. So I don't know if they've done that or not, but
I believe they did.
Okay.
I'm trying to find that correspondence, but I agree. I think they have to answer the criteria which the overlay district is considered under, and then the question becomes, from that standpoint, from a procedural standpoint, if the board feels that it's warranted based on those initial 7 points, how procedurally from there. In the past, and the only other application that we've seen under the overlay district, we referred it out.
Yeah.
Which I think would make sense to do in this case, just to get the other boards to review it, make sure that we're all on the same page, and there's no. And again, it's specifically over the 7 points that qualifies them for the overlay district, not site plan or anything of that nature.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Diana, have you received any correspondence from them regarding this application?
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay. So then let's hold off on the referral, obviously now, until we review their correspondence, and then we can decide from there how we want to proceed.
What correspondence are we looking for?
It would be a correspondence from the applicant requesting the overlay district designation and providing their reasoning on how it qualifies under the 7 criteria for applications to be considered under the overlay district.
Okay.
Eight criteria.
Now, once we refer it out, it comes back to us. Then we send it to planning, hypothetically. Then they refer it out. Correct?
no.
You don't
No,
refer
you're
it
going to refer it out to everybody, and
All at once.
including planning and my department as well. And both bodies will send in their comments on that supporting documentation that they either have submitted or will be submitting.
Okay.
Again, but that is only under regarding the parameters by which an application can be considered for the overlay district
Yeah,
designation.
correct, yep.
Just so we're clear, it's not a site plan review.
Nope.
It's not details of the actual project necessarily. Right? We're all on the same page.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So since unfortunately that there's no representative here at this point in time, why don't we take a beat on it? We'll make sure we have the proper application in the clerk's office, and then we can take action from there.
Okay.
Good. And then we are actually ahead of schedule considerably, and we do have one more item that I know many of us are interested in discussing. In the meantime, we'll take up the resolutions, if that's okay with the town board.
Yep.
Yes,
Let's
please.
get them done.
All right, we have resolutions to permit Alcoholics Anonymous to rent meeting space on an additional day per week at the Albert A. Capolini Community and Cultural Center, as well as once per week at the Sparkle Lake Building. We're going to authorize the town board to deem obsolete items to be sold at auction. Those are all listed. Items are listed in the resolution. We're going to authorize the town supervisor to sign the Justice Court Assistance Program grant application in the 2022-2023 grant cycle. We're going to award a bid for the membrane module replacement of the water pollution control facility. This bid is being awarded to Film Tech Corporation at a total sum of $967,176. This is a reimbursable expenditure from DEP, as noted in the resolution. This is something that our engineering or sewer department has been working on for quite some time to get the DEP's final sign-off that, in fact, it will be reimbursed. We're going to award the bid for the dewatered sludge removal and disposal and have it awarded to Denali Water Pollution Control Plant. We're going to authorize the comptroller to process a budget transfer to close capital projects. This is in regards to the Hill Boulevard Bridge replacement and the Veterans Culvert repair. We're going to authorize the comptroller to process a budget transfer from the Consolidated Water District Fund, transferring $7,950 for the balance. This is for the fluoride capital improvement project, and this we would hope would be the last transfer regarding this project. We're going to authorize the town clerk to advertise a bid for the replacement of air conditioning and heat pump systems. Not heat pump, but heat systems for Town Hall. We're going to authorize the town clerk to advertise for bid for the Parks Department roof at Downing Park. And we'll authorize the town supervisor to sign an intermunicipal agreement with the Yorktown Central School District. And we also, out of closed, we have one from personnel. I'll read it in its entirety. Be it resolved, the town board hereby authorizes an additional 5 vacation days to Philip Marino, retroactive to January 1st, 2022. And be it resolved that the town board authorizes an additional 5 vacation days to Philip Marino annually. Is there any other resolutions that I may have missed? No? Then we'll make a motion.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. You want to take a short recess, and we can try to track down...
Yes, I actually just messed.
Thank you. All right, we'll take a 5-minute recess.
Sounds good.
Okay. And we're back from our break here. I do want to invite Michael Grace of Grace and Grace to the podium. Just for going back, if I can, taking a half step back, Mr. Grace did provide the correspondence regarding the boutique hotel. Each of the board members now has that. I would suggest that at this point we allow the board just to review that, and we can make a decision to refer it out next week as part of the town board meeting.
Yes.
We're all good?
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Mr. Grace?
No, this one I think should be quite simple. Your code, only place that a boutique hotel could be is in your overlay district. And then we went through the legislation to adopt the regulations for the special use permit to issue or not issue. That was done over several months and staff review. And so when you ask me whether it should be referred, basically you designed the whole law as it regards to boutique hotel for this particular referral anyhow. So I think those decisions and review has already been made de facto by just having passed the legislation last couple of weeks. So this is the next step, and we're really anxious for you to get going on it because we're going to be a period of time before the planning board as well. So to the degree that that review process, if you think there needs to be tweaking to the statute, we can always address it at that point. But we'd like to get started as quickly and as soon as possible. I think it's a great opportunity for the town. We talk about revitalization. The one hamlet area that may be lagging, all the other hamlet areas, maybe the Heights area, and this may be a great project to give impetus to that revitalization that we all hope for. So thank you for your time.
I'm good.
And I'll leave it to you guys. I mean, if you want to wait till next week so you can read it more fully, or if you feel...
We did, it's an excellent point. We did sort of tailor the law to this project and the overlay when we were looking at it. So we've had a lot.
Yeah, it's compatibility with the overlays.
A little broader to, yeah, but yeah, I think we should kick this back because there's a typo in here.
Yeah, misspell your name, buddy.
You misspelled your name, Mr. Grace, and but it covers the 8 points. So
yeah, no, it really is the legislation that you passed was to have this use particularly. Nowhere else in the town is it allowed except in the overlay zone.
Right.
So the legislative determination has already been made that it's compatible with the overlay zone and all the factors that are involved, as far as the positive impact and the walkability. I mean, all those things. This is actually a great opportunity. This should come in. You may see a lot of the good new uses coming into town that, you really make Yorktown a vibrant area. And maybe we can get started on getting rid of that highway garage. I have to add that in.
John, you want to join us?
The question here is, do we refer it out to all of our beautiful departments tonight, or do we do it next week?
Right.
I go ahead and say that we refer it tonight. We've had enough conversations over this.
Excuse me?
Any concerns of referring the
Tonight?
No, I
actual
think
application?
you should refer it to get some feedback.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I would like to have more. I would like to have a conversation beyond this point, and I can't do it without referring it. So, I vote to refer it.
So we have a
Anyone
motion?
And I'll second.
Yeah.
Motion. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Wait, Sergio, what were you gonna say?
I don't oppose it. We're good. Go ahead.
You're an aye.
What? I'm an aye. I'm definitely an aye. I just wanted to make a comment, but that's
No, you can make your comment.
Nah, let's move forward.
Please.
I'm good.
You got a motion and a second on the floor. All right.
Thank you, gentlemen and ma'am. Thank you.
Very good.
That's all right.
Madam.
Lady.
Madam.
Okay, so let's
Let's go into the big stuff.
let's talk trash. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah, this is the good stuff.
Can I have that, Sergio? Can I have that of yours, please? Thank you. All right, so we did receive 2 bids for residential garbage and recycling. I think we should take a step back and just remind everybody that the last bid that we opened was for $4.1 million for one garbage pickup a week and one recycling pickup a week. We are now looking at bids by AAA Carting for $3.75 for, again, this is 2 times a week garbage, 1 time recycling, so the current level of service. We also received a bid for $3.45 from Competitive Carting. This is a 5-year bid, so it would run 23, 24, 25, 26, and 27. And the town is given 3 one-year options, extending this potentially to 2030. And the town did put in a number on Phil Marino is here. Phil, you want to take the podium and just I just again want to walk through and just make sure we're all understanding what we have tried to understand through the bid process here. So that's the base bid. There were a number of bid alternates. Those bid alternates include reducing residential garbage to once a week pickup. There was use of a one-arm, it's a side loader, also known as a one-arm bandit. That was included, both for 2 garbage pickups and 1 garbage pickup. What else did we include?
Condos or no condos?
Condos, no condos. And I just want to make sure, because there's a lot of hyperbole out there about this, and I think it's funny. The reason that the town board decided to include that is because there have been nothing but myths and legends over the cost of the multifamily versus the single home family pickups. And the only way we're going to get to an understanding of the true cost is by seeing it in a bid. Now, so let's just stop there for a second. And I'm going to go to the board. Does anyone on the town board support eliminating garbage pickups for the multifamily complexes?
No.
I just want to be clear on that. I mean, if you look at the bids, now we know the difference between whether or not and what it's going to cost. And that really was the end goal for me, and I think for all of us on the board. So, I don't think there was ever going to be an option on the table where we were going to remove services from anybody. But we did want to know how much it would cost, how much it would save.
Right.
Because they're, with the rising costs of everything, the garbage contracts are going up. And so we need to figure out, we needed to figure out what everything looked like as far as real numbers. I don't think anybody, and I think we already all said that, ever really considered taking, any kind of garbage away or any kind of services away from condos or anything like that.
Was that as Adam put it, a no? I don't.
Yeah.
It was a hard no.
So let's just put that out there, that the town board is not entertaining bids that would eliminate multifamily complexes from getting their garbage and recycling picked up.
Well,
and we have a reporter here who I know is going to do a great job
making
quoting
sure
us on that.
Bold print, yeah, in case
Mr.
anyone.
Supervisor, can I see the paper I printed up? And just case in point, if you look here, I think the difference was what, $100
grand.
$100 grand. If you took that service away, not even worth it. Not even worth a consideration.
We wouldn't do it
numbers,
anyway, though. It wouldn't be like that.
And the numbers showed that, and that's really what we were looking for. We were looking to see what the
actual
gonna
numbers
show.
are.
Yeah.
So again, going back to that, so we've taken that completely off the table. So that leaves us with the current level of service, as well as looking at things like the side loader as well. Phil, anything else you wanted to add on the actual contractor bid itself?
No, the only thing we did was we just explored different ways of servicing the town because of the such high price of us getting a contractor to service our residential for recycling and household trash. So,
right.
So we got the numbers, and now we know what we're talking about.
And at the end of the day, then what we're seeing is anywhere from a $250,000 to a $600,000 reduction from the previous bids that we've received.
Correct.
You know, I actually think that's called doing a good job.
Yes.
And
It worked.
because we fought like heck.
Well, we did put it out
to get us there.
3 different times.
We put it out a number of times because we wanted to be persistent, and we knew that the numbers that we saw that came back, we didn't feel were acceptable for taxpayers.
Correct.
For our residents. Bottom line. And so, you know, we were persistent on this. And so, you know, now we have numbers that I think are more in line with where we feel is an acceptable, and I think we all have to recognize that it's increasing, right? Everything in the country is increasing. That's the economy we're living in. Everything, every aspect. And also, and Mr. Grace, you can speak to this, you know, since you were here for the last contract, but the numbers are really still low compared to where we should theoretically be from a garbage contract standpoint. Correct?
Yeah, I think when in 2017 you were paying $3 million a year, and we bid it, and we had competition in the market, and we got it down to $2 million, and that was I think we saved ourselves $800,000 a year over the 5 years, which is $4 million. So that helped us with creating a fund balance that we didn't have. I think I had a $1.5 million fund balance when I took office. We left with a $10 million fund balance, essentially on that. And then when we rebid it again, I know Representative
AAA's
here, and you know, we lost the winning bidder the last time around, which was competition carding. This is competitive carding that is put in a bit different outfit completely. But you know, the way it worked the next time around was that AAA came in, I think, at $2 million and saved the town another $500,000 a year. And I think that when I left, I kind of forewarned everybody you're going to end up seeing a
right.
You know, and I'm surprised it's under $4 million. I really am. I'm thinking that you'd be 4.5 at the very least. So you did a good job of continually digging for a better price.
And I also just want to take a moment and just say that it's and thank you for the background. And I want to thank AAA because I think, overall, again, it's nothing personal, but we have a fiduciary duty to protect our local taxpayers, and so we wanted to continue to pursue that to the best of our ability. That was our responsibility, and so now we have two bids that the town board can look at. We can again compare the two proposals, and the lowest bid is competitive carding at. Can I just say the whole number? Let's say with 3.4. We'll go with 3.45. So I think what we wanted to do was just have a conversation with Mr. Amico regarding and I don't know if you're physically able to stand. It's okay if you can't. No. It's okay if you can't.
Yeah, I just want to.
No, you don't need to be a hero. It's okay.
He just had back surgery, so
right. But I think the town board just wanted to this is a big deal. This is a really big deal. It's a big contract. It's a 5-year contract, potentially 8-year contract, and we want to make sure that we understand. We can definitely make sure that you're sitting, Brian.
I'm fine.
You sure?
Positive.
He's up now. He's like
Standing.
He's like he can't move.
So I think the town board just wanted to hear from you about what your vision in regards to the maintaining the current level of service would be. And if you can share with us, to the best of your ability, from an equipment standpoint, just some of the logistics to make sure that we're comfortable with how you want to proceed.
As far as service, it's going to be exactly the same way because the routes are what I set up 5 years ago. They're currently being run the same way, I would assume. Same amount of packers, same amount of split packers. And as far as the equipment, I'm ready to go. The things are ready, just getting painted right now. So
The
done
truck,
it
the
before.
trucks already they're getting painted right now.
We just sent a check down today. So, one's in the shop.
Where are you going to be operating out of, Brian?
Where I used to, well, not where I used to. I originally operated on Navajo Street. So, unfortunately, my old yard was taken. So,
So where's it going to be?
Navajo again?
yeah, I'll be on Navajo.
On Navajo.
Yeah, I just want to, these guys no problem, and a lot of what may be asked and open may, I understand the vetting process, and we welcome it, absolutely welcome it, but in terms of if there's maybe sensitive stuff where there's negotiations going on, other
Understood.
things going on, and I don't think it's necessarily fair because I've been through this process before, not only as a supervisor twice, but in a prior existence as town attorney when Pat LaFaro was here, so we're going way back. There's a lot of, and I don't want to say skullduggery, but it's a major contract over a long period of time, and there's things that go on in the background, and we don't want to end up having to disclose things that may jeopardize his ability to be there on January 1. So, I think for you, you need to. I asked for the assurances. I think when we brought Brian and Spezio in on competition karting, we had the same issues that you're facing now. And we have no problems with a complete vetting of Mr. Amico's company, everything that you need. I just caution that I'm going to be a little reluctant to have some of it. I think some of it is really confidential information.
And if there's anything that you don't think your client should answer, please let him know.
Yeah, no,
we asked two
I
questions.
think I'm just forewarned. He'll answer anything to you guys.
Right.
It's just whether he does it in public or in an
Right.
executive
No, I
session.
understand.
And that's all. I think he's got no problem fully disclosing, so you guys are absolutely 100% comfortable.
Well, the two big questions I had, and there's one last one, which is just, and I think market-wise will be fine, which is staffing. I assume you still have contacts and everyone pretty much ready to go.
I don't think that's an issue.
Okay.
Do you foresee any issues?
Snow. I'm just joking. I did this for 5 years, and prior to doing it myself, I worked for Suburban Karting that was running Valley Karting through
Yeah, I know those.
Allied
guys.
Waste and through a bunch of other stuff. And because I was from Yorktown, I used to have to come up here all the time. I got to see my mother a lot, but I was living in the Bronx, so I always saw the operations at multiple different stages of years and operating statuses and so on. So previous to AAA taking the current bid, I saw it run just completely different. I mean, we eliminated 5 trucks off the road when I took the bid. The previous, hauler had like 11, 12 trucks. We run 7.
So moving forward and watching the industry now, do you foresee anything that could
Like
raise
what?
any red flags?
Yeah, the trucks are like $500,000, and they're going up, so they're not cheap. And then you got $5, $6 diesel fuel, and that's not going down. I don't see any time soon. So I didn't vote for this guy.
Mm-hmm. Well, that would be, but that's all included in your bid,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, I can say one thing. I've known Brian for a long time, and I don't think there's anybody. And then no.
it's
AAA
no-
did a
no-
great job.
yeah, it's no
Nothing
disrespect to
against-
AAA.
No disrespect to them.
None
But,
whatsoever.
if you have a Mr. Garbage in Yorktown, it's Brian.
That's a
Or
pretty
Doc-
dubious honor.
Or Dr. Garbage. But he's done the labor. He's done the routes himself. He's done it from the bottom to the top. And again, we've no problem sitting down with you with any information that you need.
Mhm.
But I just think that some of it should not be in the public forum. That's all.
So if we come across something that you don't believe should be in the public forum, just stop us and say,
Yeah,
and then
no,
we'll
I
write
just-
that question down and we'll.
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Other questions from the board? Tommy?
Let me think on that for a minute.
Yeah.
So he's operating out of Navajo. Trucks are getting painted. He's done this before, so he's a veteran.
He knows, he
He
had,
knows the
so
roads.
prior,
He's from Yorktown. He went to say hi to his mom. I mean, I was a mom. I have a 6-year-old, and then I became a mom for my 4-year-old, and life is looking completely different. So as long as you keep up with your times, I get that. Okay. Staffing, you saying are they hired already?
No.
Or they're okay? So you're just waiting to.
I'm just waiting for the facilitation of this
Okay.
process.
Yeah, because I feel like there's so much unemployment. Go ahead. So. I don't know. Am I missing anything else?
No, don't feel. Look, we'll come back in a private work session if you want. I mean,
Brian,
if you really, no, I don't want. I'm just saying, if you're reluctant to ask the questions, maybe we do it in a private setting, and we can really re-ask the questions
I think
in
that
an
we're
open
just trying
setting
to
if
get
you
our
want.
footing here about what we're asking and what we're seeking to be comfortable with the proposal as it stands.
I'm a big believer. Like as long as J1, all of Everett Town's garbage is put away, and there's no residuals, like there's no extra bills at the end of the gig, we're good. Like I have no questions outside of that.
Brian, just on because it came up before with regards to the multifamily condos, et cetera, are you prepared to go in there with dumpsters and so on and so forth at this point in time?
Yeah, you
and
guys snuck that in the second time. I didn't see that, but yeah, we have the dumpsters getting prepped and primed and ready to go for the condominiums.
Yeah, the reason I asked that is because the last time there was an increase because we didn't have it in the contract, and AAA didn't see it in the contract. So there was a discrepancy on money there. So I want to make sure that everybody's whole going into this.
Yeah, like I said, it was snuck in the last one, and the prior, wasn't in there. That we had to provide the dumpsters, excuse me. Not the service, but the dumpsters. That's all I'm speaking. The service was always going to be provided.
Right, of course.
It was just a matter of providing dumpsters for, not Jefferson Village, but Canterbury.
Yeah, there's a few of them.
I can't think of the names of all of it. York Ridge, York Hill.
You did that last time too, anyhow. Right?
Yeah, we did it last time with welding in the rain and stuff like that. It was crazy. Yeah. So.
Okay.
And you've worked with the property owners that are there now in the multifamily, because Phil can.
Unless they changed.
I mean, Phil can attest to the fact that we have an issue with several of the multifamilies, Phil, regarding the container where they put the containers. They're not big enough.
It's like anything else. The multifamily's got to be responsible to make sure that the material's put out right. That's the main problem I have. And there is no containers.
Yeah.
The contractor is not going to supply any containers to the condos. The same as we do with the single family homes in Yorktown. So there's only some government buildings that there's a list in there that containers which he will be issuing, but otherwise he will not be issuing containers to the multifamilies who get containers now. That was something that was discussed and
right.
We put that to bed months ago.
Right.
You guys bought the containers for the multifamily?
There is about $50,000 worth of containers the town's been purchasing. For
So they remain in place. They're not going to be. Last time we went from
right,
last time
it's about 50,000, I believe, is the
Last
bill.
time we went from stolen dumpsters that we
Yeah.
had to replace for condominiums, that compactors and things
Yeah,
we had to replace.
yeah, yeah.
So
There was
I mean,
Van Togren,
as
right?
far Van Togren's compactor was stolen. We had to get that, which they found like 6 months later. I mean, to rehash, it doesn't matter.
But there's containers that the town actually purchased for the multifamily that's staying in situ and are not being removed by the alcohol.
Yeah, I mean, there's the right. It's just this 50,000. There's an inventory of extra containers.
Have a list of where they're going.
That the town has been renting, essentially from AAA, and so those wouldn't be, those would have to be I think they would, Phil, right? Where's Phil? I can't see you, buddy.
Those have to be replaced.
There was a resolution passed that the town paid for extra containers for some of the condos.
Right. Yep.
And that was a price of $50,000 a year.
Right. I think that was passed in 2018.
It was it was almost when that contract got taken over.
Okay.
They wanted more containers, and I don't know why the town flipped the bill.
Okay. But those are the containers that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that that's where the problem began
Right, but
because
that should not be an issue anymore because we're not supplying anybody with containers. They're going to either have to rent their containers, purchase their containers, or go to some other alternate way of holding their household trash.
Okay.
Maybe I'm a little confused. I don't, you understand?
No,
Basically,
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
I'm a
right.
little confused myself by it.
But the-
I
Why are you
understand.
confused?
Because
Don't,
okay, we'll figure it out.
it's not necessary. I'm just.
No, I'd like to know why. I know. I'd just
feet
like to know
where
why.
you
I
can.
mean, is it a
In
closed
other-
session
in other
item
words,
or?
there's containers that the extra $50,000 that you spent to supply containers to certain multifamily, they will disappear with the old contract.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
they were rented,
The obli-
released.
Right. The obligation to replace them sits with the multifamily units,
Yes.
not with the hauler.
Right.
Because
So what's the confusion?
the way we used to do it, was the hauler supplied those containers. But if the-
So is your bid supplying the containers?
No,
No.
no, so so the only thing that we would add is that you make sure that happens, or that the ones that are already there are kept there somehow. In other words, if there's
The property manager can buy them from AAA if they want to lease with the option to buy, or however that
right,
works.
the problem is gonna, and I don't, just, I could anticipate that come January 1, or the next week, when they go to pick up the multifamily, there's no containers there anymore. And we don't need that to be.
Well, there will not be a
rolled out
container.
upon-
We need a container there December 31st to make sure it's there for January 1st.
Yeah, so the multifamily developments are going to have to be advised as to what container that.
Right, we understand that.
Okay, no, Georgie, I went through it last time, and what happened is, when the caller took over from the first time, all the containers in town
Gone.
disappeared. Even ones that weren't the haulers disappeared. And there was this container war that was going on. And it was just remarkable.
Yeah.
I mean, and it caused a lot of confusion. It started off with bad blood that had to be repaired over time. And so just don't want to anticipate, Brian wants to do it right. So he doesn't want to show up in a multifamily development and there's no containers to be picked up.
But if a multifamily wanted to purchase the containers directly from you, would you be willing to do that?
Yeah, no, I have no problem selling them through the place that manufactures them. You know,
So if the town,
I'm not in the business of selling dumpsters, but I could sell them to them. But, I'd rather put them in the way of the seller.
Right. In other words, point them in that direction to
Yeah,
get
I mean,
them.
if they want to buy them from me, I don't care. I'll sell them to them.
And so if they buy them from you and you sell them to them, then you would drop them off on your first or whatever it is, right? That's how that would work.
Yeah, that's all. Would have to be pre-scheduled. Yeah.
Of course, it's all of this has to be pre-scheduled. It's a transition from one company to another. It's no different than whether you're moving garbage or you're changing IT guys or you're putting new servers in or you're
Times
switching
have changed.
cameras out. It's
Times have changed.
It's a
things have
transition.
changed, I remember certain condos we used to pick up more than
Others.
more than what the provided service was allotted, but we picked them up with a different truck, commercial truck. We would do it separately, so there would be no spillage, no overflows. Where they normally get the 2 time a week service, some of them get 3 or 4 every day service, depending on which condominium it was.
Right.
I mean, we worked a lot of different things out with all the condo owners. Putting the dumpsters in and out is a problem for some of the condo complexes. So we did that for certain condo complexes. It's just a matter of.
Sorry, Brian. Just to put it to rest, I'm just waiting for the contract to be awarded, and I am sending a letter. I'll also try to contact them by phone to all the places that get supplied containers now and informing them
What
that
they need.
that give them a couple of months to try to get what they can. I also am volunteering my services. I would meet with them and go over, some kind of alternate route on what they can use and not use.
So you're here to facilitate a smooth transition with the containers, even the containers,
Listen,
which is
as
what I
smooth as
thought.
possible. As smooth as possible.
Right.
Without a doubt.
Just consult with Brian because the specs may be different for his truck.
Exactly.
No, that's what.
It's all the same.
All right.
Other questions from the board?
I'm
What was
I'm
your
glad
question
we're
about
bringing
that-
this
that
stuff
other
up
thing you
because
brought
as
up?
we learned from the
Performance?
last bid, sometimes you miss something. So I'm glad that
What
this
was
can
your
be worked out.
I was.
You were asking about the. Sorry.
That's okay.
Go ahead, no, finish it.
I'm done. I'm just I was just saying, and we should always have the conversation because last time around we sort of missed a very important piece of material that cost us. So I'm glad that we're having the discussion now and getting everything worked out.
So I think the only question I had, we talked about his yard's gonna be at Navajo, the trucks. So you're using your own trucks. You're not partnering with anybody. You're using your guys.
Purchasing. I gotta get them for the bid.
Okay. And will they all be in time for January? Or you're gonna need to borrow or work alongside somebody else on January?
It's all me. I don't know you personally, but it's me.
Yeah. You have to get to know me. I ask a lot of questions.
That's fine. I have no problem.
No, I just wanted.
You're from Yorktown. Kim Gage gave everybody my cell phone number last time, so feel free to call me. About garbage anytime you want. But other than that, I'm 9 to 5.
Okay. So while you're
in the municipal work, it's 6 to whenever you finish. So
Okay, so I don't have as much experience. I've only been on the board since January. So the way I look at it is, if Yorktown awards you this contract, then we have a contract with you. Anytime, if in fact due to machinery, landlords, I don't know, whatever the unforeseen is, right? And you partner with somebody else, I think there's a clause in our contract that he'll have to sit with us and vet it with us. Because
there's more than that. The solid waste gets involved. There's a whole bunch.
All right, so there are stuff like that. So as long as there's full transparency, I mean, because you just said you got a truck getting painted. We all know that, like.
It's like I said, we just sent the check down today, so it went into the booth, and it just depends on what's going to happen going forward. So.
I guess I'm just.
You have to remember, these are not cheap. Nothing.
I'm fully aware. I don't live a cheap life, but I'm just letting you know that I just felt like I just wanted to stress that out as well, because I haven't been to your and I don't know. I am just meeting you. So nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Brian.
And again,
I'm Luciana. I might be one of your worst pain in the asses, but I'm good.
Very willing to meet with you all anytime you want. And again, to the degree that you may be shy about asking questions in public, but we can.
No, I'm not shy at all.
Okay. I'm just
But yeah,
making you offers. Just so you
No,
understand.
it's sweet. It's sweet.
I've been to this rodeo before.
Yeah,
I
you
know.
gotta get Brian.
Yeah,
No, I've heard some really great things about you, so.
not from me.
What could they say?
He's honest.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything else.
Bobby, did you have anything?
I'm good. I'm good.
Anything from you,
Yeah.
Supervisor?
I appreciate your
Be
time.
careful.
Sit down.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Doing all right. Still on. Want to let him speak?
As long as it's not, as long as it's relevant and not, something that's speculative.
So it's the question to us. Of course.
You want to just introduce yourself for everybody?
How you doing? I'm Angela Harlem from AAA, the current garbage hauler. How are you?
Hi, Angela.
How are you?
Good.
You guys had that they had to be a performance bond in the bid. Is the new hauler, if he gets awarded, going to be able to provide that performance bond?
We'll ask that question.
Okay, and just one more question. It sounds like everybody's confused on what cans are there, what cans aren't there. It sounds to me that if the person who's going to get the contract should know what he's bidding on. So it just sounds to me like there's a little confusion on what he actually bid on. So I'd like to know how he's prepared to do it if he doesn't even really know what he bid on.
No, so Angela, I think the part that was confusing is that we ended up using your containers. So your containers are there. So when your contract ends, if your contract ends, you'll take your containers with you. At that time, we're advising that the actual condominiums and those multiple families have containers there ready for the haulers, that they now take responsibility so we don't have this lease with the option to buy kind of confusion. So whether or not it will not be an expense to the new hauler. And if the contract was to be reviewed even with AAA, I think that is something, in my opinion, that I would want to do anyway with because we've had all this, I mean, you guys have been at the Village and all that, we've had all these garbage stuff that I'm like, if they have ownership of their container, they can't complain about their container and we can give autonomy. So I think that's, I'm not saying that, I hear what you're saying, I'm just letting you know that there isn't a confusion because it's not something he'll have to bid on.
100%. But like I said, when he first was here, he said, "I provide all the containers." But that's what I'm just saying, just so I want to make sure that he understands what it's doing, because it sounds like he bid on something that he doesn't understand what he bid on, but that's not here or there.
No, I understand. I think what he meant by that is that if in fact there was a need for a container, he could point them in a direction to buy them, but he is not a container distributor.
I got you. And then also, this is the second round of the same thing that the town of Yorktown is doing now. I don't know if you weren't here privy to the last time. This is the same thing they did, whatever, how many years ago it was, when the same person, Brian, bid on the contract and then sold it to whoever he sold it to. His company name was Competition Karting. And like Mr. Grace had said, his lawyer, that they lost their license and their contract and they were out of business, and that's why you guys had to re-put it back out to bid. So it's the same company. He just said himself that Competition Karting is the same company that as Brian used to have. So I don't understand why we would go down the same road. So I would just...
Thank you, Angela. Mr. Grace, do you want to answer?
Let me just keep that in mind.
Thanks, Angela.
Thank you, Angela.
I'm just trying to clarify certain things. First of all, the Competition Karting is a completely different entity, unrelated to anything that Brian's company is involved with now. Competition Karting came out of, was it Rogan or something, R&W, something trash, RNF, and they ended up, and just so everybody understands where we came from, when I became supervisor, there was a $3 million a year contract that was expiring, and there was a big problem because they consulted me before I was elected about what to do about the garbage. So we ended up redoing the bid. We had ended up having competition in the market. Not competition as a pronoun, competition as a verb, because I don't want to get mixed up. What we ended up doing is we understood that the essence of the bid is a logistic bid. If you have an expert in logistics, you know what you got to do. You know how much tonnage you got to pick up. You know what your routes are, and you just dial in what it costs you to do it. So we were very confident that we would get a better price, and we did. And that was that. And now when we redid it again, AAA beat what was then the current current bid. I don't know whatever happened to the old Competition Karting. It disappeared, and the principal in competition is dead. He's no longer with us. He died from COVID years ago. So the thing is that when AAA came in, we had the same dilemma because we had the outgoing guy, etc. And I don't want to make any implication that AAA gave us any issue.
Sorry, Mr. Grace. Angelo?
Gentlemen, if you're going to have a conversation aside, go out into the hallway, please.
And in addition, we did give you the courtesy of speaking. You should give the courtesy of hearing the answer.
Okay. And I just want to make it absolutely clear that the issues with the containers in the transition period wasn't between Competition Karting, which is, again, a different entity, and AAA. It was between the hauler before Competition Karting and Competition Karting. We had this container war going on. So I will apologize because I may have created confusion based upon what I understood the historical way we bid the contract. But now that it's clarified, I just want to make sure it's clarified, the condominiums are going to be providing the containers. I appreciate it, and I apologize for creating any confusion to yourself or to Mr. Cardinale.
Just one more thing real quick. I know I'm not allowed to talk again, but if you Google Yorktown Competition Karting and the town of Yorktown, Brian is standing at the podium representing Competition Karting. Just if you Google Yorktown and Brian Amigo with a Competition Karting shirt on representing Competition Karting, was awarded the contract as Competition Karting. So, I mean, if you just, it's on Google.
Yeah,
it's on Google. This is competitive karting. I get it. But Competition Karting was
we can't
awarded the contract and then had their, again, however he got wherever it was, but Brian Amico was awarded the contract. competition karting, and then their license, whatever happened with the contract, then that's when I took over afterwards. But now he's back again as competitive karting, doing the same thing he did last time with no trucks, no this, no that. So it just doesn't make any sense why we would go down the same road to possibly end up at the same results, that he then just either sells it to somebody like he did the first time, and then and you guys end up with another situation where the hauler loses their license or whatever happens to that hauler, and you're back in the same boat again where you were 5 years ago when I took the contract over. This is the same exact thing you guys did 5 years ago. Same exact man, same exact song and dance, had no trucks, had nothing, ended back to square one again. So I just don't think it makes sense to go back down the same path again and then end up in the same spot where you were 5 years ago when you guys lost the hauler that was picking up your garbage.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
Actually, from a historic lesson, first off, it was 10 years ago that competition came in. RNS, if I'm not mistaken, bought competition. RNS did bid on the last bid 5 years ago, and they were beat by AAA. So
where does competition come into play with Brian?
Hold on, one at a time.
Yeah.
Can I just, you're right, and can I just say that if we went back, if we were saying why should we go back, we had a very good experience with competition. They
Yeah,
were fine.
as good as that was my next point.
We had no problems whatsoever. A matter of fact, when AAA came in and won the bid, competition was saying, we did such a great job, even though we're higher, since we did such a great job and we saved you so much money over the years, you should ignore their winning bid and award it to us. We awarded it to AAA. It's a competition karting is not an entity now. It's completely new, and that's why I think if it was just the old competition, there'd be very little vetting to do because you've had experience with them, and they're very good. AAA is very good. Serbone's very good. Or was it CRP? They're all very good haulers. This one happens to be the low bid at this point, and I have nothing against these gentlemen, but I just want you to. It's not. If it was the same
Mr.
guys
Grace.
as before,
address
if it was the same guys as before, you were very well served before. And you'll be very well served again in the future. So, and it wasn't that they lost their license and no, the contract expired after 5 years and it was rebid, and there was nothing untoward about it expiring or them taking the bid because they won it fair and squarely on the price, and that's what
that is my recollection as well.
So just to be clear, they did not lose their license. Just to be clear.
When they were a hauler for Yorktown, they had a very good experience with them. They did an excellent job. We had no problems. As a matter of fact, because they did such a great job, the next go-around, AAA had to come in even lower in order to be competitive against them, and that's what happened. So
Did they lose their hauling license
No,
while
I
they were servicing
I have
the
no
town?
idea, and it's not.
While they were servicing the town of
No,
Yorktown.
absolutely not.
And they did rebid when their contract was expired?
Yes.
Yes, it was a contract expired. Nothing untoward about the hauler, just the contract by
And
its
it was
terms had
rebid as
expired.
competition karting?
And they rebid, yes, and they lost the bid to AAA, and that's what happened. AAA, and we went with AAA, and we did a vetting process with AAA. We did the whole thing with them as well, to make sure we allay any concerns that the town board had in the transition period. Okay. They're all good haulers. You just have to have a lower bid one. That's what happens when you do bids.
Right.
Can I say one thing real quick?
I'm sorry, no. If Angela, you want to speak on behalf of your company, you're more than welcome to.
One more thing, and I don't mean to, but it is what it is at this point. Twice, Brian Amico has gone bankrupt himself in 2020. So, I find it hard to believe a guy's going to get a bid bond who's gone bankrupt 2 years ago. And I got you. And he just simply said the trucks were $500,000. Who would, in their right mind, would buy a truck, paint the truck without having a contract in place or ready to go? It just the things that, even the questions you're asking him, it's like he doesn't have the answers to what you guys are asking him. And the employees, he'll have the employees. It just doesn't make any sense. He's got no place to house the trucks, no place to put the trucks. Why don't you vet him a little bit better before you just say, Yes,
Did
we're
we say
going to
yes?
give you the
Did we
contract.
say yes?
No,
we did not.
Okay, I'm not yelling. I'm not
No,
yelling.
I don't appreciate that. I don't appreciate
I'm not
the
yelling.
accusation.
I didn't say you said yes. I said
I don't
before
appreciate
you
the
say
accusation.
yes.
This board will do its due.
I'm not arguing. I
board
just
will do-
I said before.
This
That's
board
all.
will be doing its due
That's all I
diligence.
had.
That's why we're having a
And-
public
and-
conversation about the contract.
And
I'm
that's
sorry
why I
that there
said
was a
to
lower
vet
lower
this-
bid.
That's it.
But
And that's why I said
We're
you
going
should
to do our
do the
due
vetting
diligence.
before you say yes. That's
Guys can't-
all I
you guys-
said.
hold on a
And
second.
we
Hold
are.
on a second. You guys can't talk over each other, okay? Matt, go ahead. If he's speaking, please let him speak.
I understand.
This is his forum. Matt, go ahead.
no, I find it insulting that he's even making an accusation that we're not going to do our due diligence before saying yes, because you're already making the assumption that we are. It's insulting.
I did if it came out that way, I meant no
Exactly
intent.
what you said. Your
I
buddy
meant-
who's videotaping it back there can replay
I
it
meant
for you.
no intent for it to come out that way. All I said was I think they should do the
And
prop.
the thing that we know the most right now, and call me smart or not, is that their bid came in lower than yours. That is what I know that's concrete right now. We are asking questions. We're only asking questions. We hear you. I'm open to hearing you. I also understand that this could be very frustrating for you. Don't get me wrong. I understand that. I want to meet you there. But I'm telling you right now, under Supervisor Slater and Deputy Supervisor Tommy Diana and these councilmen that sit next to me, we're not going to say yes just because it sounds good. I like to touch things. I wasn't born yesterday. But I do want to let you know that it does seem very disrespectful. So just take a deep breath and just know that we're treating everyone here human. And the only thing that I can guarantee you is that his bid came in lower than yours. Okay?
110%.
Okay.
And I meant no disrespect that you were going to say. All I said was I just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page. I meant no disrespect
Don't
in any
go
way,
in
shape, or form, nor did I mean to
That's
say
it.
you were
No.
going to say
And-
yes.
Of course.
That's
But I get the frustration and I get the idea that you want us to see things that you think we may not be seeing. We are very. I went to an Ivy League school. We're very smart people.
And I'm not. And I don't. And
Like,
my
just
articulation isn't.
give us a
You know,
minute.
I don't speak well, and this isn't my normal forum. So I apologize if it
That's
came
okay.
out that way.
So,
I can
Angela,
meet you on the street. We're good. We're good.
Wait, I guarantee you that this board is going to do its due diligence. We're going to figure out the bins and all of that stuff, and we're going to try to facilitate a smooth transition. What? And I know the answer that you're going to give me already. I just, depending on after we do all our vetting, whether or not you get the bid or not, you get the contract. I know the answer. Can we depend on you to continue to do the right thing, even if you don't get the bid through the end of your contract?
Of course. No.
Thank you.
Why would I wouldn't ruin the for next time?
Thank you. I appreciate
It's
it.
not an issue.
Because at the end of the day, our concern is not either one of you.
No, it's everyone out there.
I got you.
It's the citizens and the people.
I
of
got you.
Yorktown.
110%.
That's what we're all about.
I
110%.
would also like to state that I don't think it's appropriate to bring up personal bankruptcy. It just seems like it's blurring the lines. There's a corporate, there's personal. If someone goes through personal bankruptcy, actually, for 7 years, it makes them a much better bet than anyone else because they can't declare for another, well, now 5 years if that's the case. So, you know, it's sort of counter to your point, but it's just not the right. It's not the right avenue to take.
And I mean, Angela, I'm Luciana. You don't mess with people's families in their lives. I'm sorry. Not the way that I roll. No.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
You know,
Thank you.
It seems like we have this same issue every time
Yes.
with the garbage contract. Okay. The other thing is,
Especially business.
the last time we negotiated a garbage contract, we almost had fisticuffs outside. All right? I wouldn't see anymore. I wouldn't let anybody else in. Pat prevailed with a cool head when he came up here. But there were other members that did not. I do not want to see this negotiation come to that level ever again. Okay? This right here, I'm sure he misspoke. He didn't mean to have it sound like that, and I'm sure he wouldn't. But we are going to vet this in our best ability, in the best way we can, for whatever hauler gets it. Okay? We will not take any guff from one hauler or another hauler, or we won't deal with any. and we'll figure it out from that point forward. Do we understand that, gentlemen? We understand that? Okay.
Sarah's
You
gonna
don't
get us
know?
compost.
Yeah, again, I've been in your shoes twice, so, and it's, there's some very comical things that happen during the both periods of time. At least I can laugh about them now, but again, you have to take it to Matt's point. You have to take it very seriously, and to Luciano's point, you're here to serve your constituents. And garbage, you can't mess with people's garbage. It just is like the one thing you just don't. It's just like, and it took us a long time to even overcome. Everybody's got their favorite garbage guy, so. We're fine, and we understand the position that you're in. We understand the position that AAA is in. We all understand that. We will cooperate with you in any way you need us to cooperate. We welcome your vetting, and both as a Pioneer Town attorney, Pioneer Town supervisor, and as a representative for my client, I encourage you to do it and do it well. And I guess all I can say.
Great.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Reyes.
you.
Anything else before the board? Any other discussion?
No.
We'll do it as part of the vetting process.
Yeah.
Right. So I think what we'll do is we'll continue the vetting process. We'll have you into close next week so that we can discuss further. And then we will invite Angelo and AAA into close next week. Or not next week, excuse me, the following week. So we can have a conversation with him as well.
Absolutely. I encourage it. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
All right. If there's nothing else before the board, then we'll make a motion. Make a motion.
We're going to make a mission to
We're on
adjourn.
a mission.
Motion to adjourn.
So we're on a
Second.
garbage mission.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.